Let's get a deeper analysis now of this speech. We are joined here in the studio by Torrey Taussig. She's with the Brookings Institute, a Washington nonpartisan think tank. She is a specialist on U.S. foreign policy. Welcome to the program. This president, he billed this speech as one that would unify the country. Of course, we have, divisive politics as recently, especially given the government shutdown in Washington. How did you see it?
Well, let's remember, State of the Union addresses are meant to do two things. One, to bring unity to a country, and second, to outline the primary policy proposals put forward by the president. However, we have to remember the context that the speech was given in. This is at the end of an unprecedented 35-day-long government shutdown, and it was given by an incredibly divisive president who is constantly calling out Democrats for being a disservice to the country, and who just hours before the speech berated Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer for kind of taunting him for losing the Senate majority, so to speak, in the Senate. And so this was a speech given by a divisive president during a divisive time, and there was not much he could say to overcome that context.
And given that, what did you make of the dynamics in the room? Especially, one couldn't help but notice that the women there were making quite a strong statement.
Yeah, of course. All of the women were clad in suffragette white to show that this was the most female-heavy Congress ever in American history. Of course, traditionally, we can always look at the body language of those in the room to assess how positive what the president is saying is received. There was a lot of negative body language from Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, a few moments of standing when President Trump spoke out for typically united policies. However, the body language was relatively tense in the room.
What did you make of the content of the speech? Trump, in a way, this was really his greatest hits. I think we have to say he called for border wall funding. He also hailed the successes of his international diplomacy, as he called it, with North Korea. We also got some more details about his upcoming meeting with Kim Jong-un that we know will take place now in February. Your reaction to the focus of this speech, to the content?
So, of course, President Trump was going to come out and speak about the economic strengths that we're seeing in the United States, 4% unemployment, high economic growth. All of these are accurate, and the president rightfully tried to strike a positive note on that. Of course, he then went after more controversial policies like border funding, which overshadowed a lot of the speech, and then turned to a number of foreign policies, including this upcoming summit with Kim Jong-un. I think the national security community in Washington and abroad has always been very skeptical of President Trump's attempts at diplomacy with Kim Jong-un, and I think that skepticism will continue moving into this next planned summit.
If you are an international ally of the United States, how do you think that you view this speech? Because, this is a president who has very much been known for cozying up to enemies, alienating those allies. What do you think their takeaways would have been?
I think if we look at NATO allies, for example, they were not expecting much from this speech. President Trump, like presidents prior, have called out NATO allies for not spending enough on defense, but he has struck a particularly harsh tone, almost questioning the intrinsic value of the alliance itself. And so there was not much that that NATO allies were looking for in this speech. Of course, in the Middle East, we've had a recent announcement from President Trump saying that the U.S. will withdraw troops from Syria. Regardless of how allies in the region viewed this, it was met negatively by his own Senate Republican members. And so I think he feels embattled both within Washington and abroad when it comes to a number of his recent foreign policy statements.
Torrey Taussig breaking it all down for us on this State of the Union address by the U.S. President Donald Trump. Thanks, Torrey.